What's up, y'all? This is my January wrap up and February TBR video. Now, I don't know about y'all, but my January reading was pretty good. I finished 5 books, and honestly, they were all bangers. So, starting off January really strong, I read The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, which is the first book in the Dandelion Dynasty, and I mean, it was great. It was just awesome. The character work, the world, the lore, the silk punk fantasy aesthetic, the action, the dialogue, everything just worked incredibly well here. I just was blown away by how much Ken Liu put into this like 605-page book. And honestly, I cannot express how good of an introduction to this world that this book was. I mean, the larger than life characters, this almost historical epic kind of feeling, and yet somehow I was managing to care all the while. Honestly, it really reminded me of Malazan, but with kind of a more upbeat feeling. And yeah, it was incredible. I did a review on this. I expressed how much I liked it. But again, this was just one of those books where it just instantly clicked for me. I just knew it was going to work after the first chapter. And, I'm happy to report I gave this a 9 out of 10. Now, following that up, I decided I'd jump right into The Wall of Storms, which is the sequel. And honestly, what a great decision this was. I mean, The Wall of Storms is everything that a sequel should be and more. I mean, better characters, better world building, better action, better dialogue, better politicking. The aesthetics leaned into more imaginative, some of the best female characters I've ever read. I mean, everything about this Wall of Storms makes it a fantastic sequel. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I like The Wall of Storms. The more I've had time to contemplate my thoughts on it, the more I'm like, yeah, that was an awesome book. Like, I can't believe how good it was. It's super imaginative. It's super, I shouldn't say fun necessarily, but it's got a lot of really cool ideas going on. There's a lot of philosophical and engineering ideas I really like. Ken Liu's obviously someone who likes to think forward about humanity and not backwards. His outlook on humanity seems to be an overall very positive one. So, yeah, there's just something about The Wall of Storms that I found to be just an incredible read. And then I ended up giving this a 9.2 out of 10. Now, I like to switch my reading style up. I like to switch genres every once in a while to kind of throw in one that I'm like, yeah, like I should really read that. So I decided to read The Shining by Stephen King, and I mean, I knew I'd like this book. Every Stephen King book I've read so far, I've enjoyed. Some more, some less, but I knew I'd like this because I like the movie a lot. The movie's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, so I figured the book would be better, but this was much better. I mean, the characters were so much better. The ambiance was so much better. The just general vibe of the Overlook Hotel and watching Jack just descend into madness and him, trying to struggle with addiction was honestly harrowing. I thought that this was an incredibly well-written book. The fact that this is among Stephen King's first published books is just an incredible feat by an author. Every time I read this book, I'm impressed by his writing ability because I I don't know if he gets enough credit for how good of a character writer and how good he is at just atmospheric writer, or how much he is just incredible with his verbiage and his prose. It's just like, it's not necessarily poetic in a Shakespearean style, but it's just so real, and it just punches you in the stomach. You know what I mean? Like, there's just something about the way that this man writes that scratches my brain. So I'm excited to read more Stephen King. The Shining was excellent. I loved it, and I gave it an 8.5, and I think I'm gonna remain with that score. Now, following that up, I decided to do something insane. and start reading or listening to, in this case, The Wandering Inn by Pirate Abba. And, I did a review on this, a 10-minute review, and somewhere on my channel, but this is the longest, at least by word count, fantasy series of all time. It's 13 million words. And, I thought this year I was going to read shorter series. I was going to read stuff that's more, quick to get through, more self contained. I wasn't going to read a super long fantasy series. I lied. But I'm glad I lied, and I'm glad I gave The Wandering Inn a chance, because what Pirate Abba is able to accomplish in this novel is nothing short of miraculous. The combination of lit RPG elements and video game aesthetics and world building and lore and character work and just general ambiance and just kind of, it's got some good feelings and it's got some bad feelings, and there's just this combination that she kind of weaves together that is incredible. She's got horror elements, she's got character work, she's got this slice of life and epic fantasy combination that you'd think shouldn't work, but it does. And it's all sewn together with this incredibly imaginative world that Pirate Abba has come up with that's unlike anything I've ever read. I mean, the closest thing I can really pinpoint The Wandering into is something like, a video game like Skyrim. I mean, that's what it felt like reading. It felt like I was reading the Elder Scrolls put to paper. And if you guys need to know anything about me, it's that I'm a huge fan of the Elder Scrolls. So if you can even get close to reminding me of that kind of aesthetic and that feeling, I'm all in. And yeah, I mean, this was awesome. I loved every part of this. This was a great introduction, and I hear that this is among the weakest entries to The Wandering Inn as like a series. So I'm excited to give this some more time when I have it, and I ended up giving this an 8.8. I mean, this was awesome. And finally, wrapping up January, I read Carl's Doomsday Scenario by Matt Dinniman. And I did a review on this on TikTok, and I just uploaded one on YouTube. Did not like this one as much. I felt like this was a very side questy book, which, nothing wrong with a good side quest, but just not what I was looking for in the sequel. I was expecting bigger stakes. I was expecting, some more, I don't know, explanation of what's going on in the world. I wanted some more plot progression, and that's not what this book is. This book is much more kind of like a side quest, fun time, supposed to make you laugh. There's some world building elements here and there. There's some, character moments here and there. But this felt like this is the zany side quest. This is, if you played Skyrim, this is like when you get drunk and the Daedra, drugs you and, like you have to like do the entire quest. Like that's what this feels like. This is like a fun little side quest that you do in a video game. And I can appreciate that. But as a reader, I kind of wanted more, and I just wasn't given it. There were still great character moments. The humor was still awesome. There's still great action. I still love the lit RPG elements. Don't get me wrong, this is still a good book, but just not as good as the first one. I think I gave the first one an 8.5. I'm going to give Carl's Doomsday Scenario an 8.2. Now, out of all those books I read, obviously there's one that I gave a really high score to, and, you would think because of that, that would be my book of the month for January. But honestly, I was thinking about this, and I think my book of the month for January is going to be The Wandering Inn. Volume 1 of The Wandering Inn by Pirate Abba. And the more I think about this book, the more I enjoy it. I mean, this was just incredible. The Wall of Storms is technically a better book. Better character work, tighter scope, tighter novel, better paced, better written, all those things, right? But in my heart of hearts, I gotta go with the thing that I enjoyed the most, right? And I don't always rate things according to how much I enjoyed them. I try and do a balanced rating of, I enjoyed this, but it's also very well written, and that's kind of how I come with my scores. But The Wandering Inn, it was just so impressive. I enjoyed it so much that I'm gonna give it my January book of the month. I was just blown away by how much I enjoyed it. Now, there were two books that I did not finish in January, and that doesn't mean that I won't try and finish them at a later date, but I just was not vibing with them when I read them. And the first of these is going to be Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, which is the first book in the realm of the Elderling series or the Farseer series. Just not what I was looking for when I read this. I wanted to give this a fair shot. People said, "Oh, you'll love Robin Hobb, so character focused. You seem like a character guy. You'll love this." And I should have. It's very well written. The dialogue is great. It's it's a good, well written book. But I got about 40-50% in this, and I just was not vibing with it. It was slow. It was kind of depressing. The world was not intriguing me. The main character Fitz was not captivating my heart. Just not what I was looking for in a fantasy book. It just this is one of those series I think I have to give a chance at another date. I feel like I read this at the wrong time. It was just not the vibe I was looking for, and kind of like the book I wanted to read. So yeah, this was just this was a miss for me at the moment, but I think I'll try this again in about a year. I think I'll actually do a Realm of the Elderlings like full series dive in next year. But this year my plate was too stacked. There's too much other stuff I want to read, and I'm trying hard this year to read the stuff I want to read and not just read the stuff I feel obligated to read. So yeah, Assassin's Apprentice is a soft DNF for me. I'm gonna probably come back to it eventually, but for right now, I'm kind of turned off. The second book that I tried reading but did not succeed was The Last Light of the Sun by Guy Gavin. I think this was maybe a combination of expectations and just a weaker entry into Guy Gavin. People told me this was probably not the place to start with his books. I should have started with the Tigana or Lines of Al Rasad or Song of Airborne. But this premise intrigued me. I love Viking stories. It seemed like it'd be a cool, like Viking revenge story, kind of like The Last Kingdom. And it just wasn't. It just was not what I was looking for. Things were happening, but I didn't care about them. The dialogue was good, but not great. The prose it popped, but I don't think the prose was as incredible as I was led to believe it would be. And maybe that's just because this is a weaker entry again for Guy Gavin. But there just wasn't enough here for me to want to continue reading. I think I gave it a fair shot. I gave it a few hundred pages, but if I'm not intrigued in something, I'll put it back down. I'm trying very hard this year to read stuff that I want to read instead of reading stuff that I feel like I need to read. So I'd be willing to give Guy Gavin another chance. I feel like I should read Tigana or Lines of Rasad or one of his better known series, one that people really praise. But yeah, right now just not what I was looking for. So moving into February, I got some stuff coming down the pipeline that I hope you guys are excited for. Some reviews that I'm excited for, some books that I'm really excited for. And the first of these that I'm already 10 to 20% into is The Veiled Throne, which is book 3 of the Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. So far, it's been good. I mean, I expected to like this, and so far I am liking it. There's just something about the way that this man writes that anything he puts to paper, I'm in. It could be engineering, it could be philosophy, it could be storytelling within his world. He's just so good at it, and I love the way he writes. So yeah, so far I'm really enjoying it. My goal is to, after read The Veiled Throne, jump right into Speaking Bones, the last book in the series, because I want to finish up Dandelion Dynasty this month. I didn't want to burn myself out by reading too much of it or all of it back to back. I just felt like that'd be kind of overwhelming for me. I'm trying to not burn out on reading this year. because I read a ton last year, so I'm trying to like spice it up, throw in stuff that I'm interested in, and just switch genres more often, stuff like that. So my follow up to the Veiled Throne is going to be Speaking Bones, which I'm excited to get into. I've loved Dandelion Dynasty so far, and I'm excited to see how these two books are going to conclude what I've read so far. I'm excited. After that, we're we're changing pace a little bit, just a little bit. It's still gonna be in the realm of fantasy, but we're going back to a classic, baby. So we're gonna be jumping back into the lands of Austin Ard with The Heart of What Was Lost, which is the bridge story between Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn and the Last King of Austin Ard. And honestly, I'm ecstatic. I'm in this Discord with a few friends, and I let them vote, and they said that I should read Last King of Austin Ard next, and I thought that was a great idea because, as you guys know, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, one of my favorite series of all time. It's top 6 or 7 favorites. And I've been told that the follow-up series, The Last King of Austin Ard, is even better than Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, which, if it is, or if it's even just as good, it's going to be a top 5 series for me. I mean, I was just blown away by how much I liked the Dragonbone Chair, to Green Angel Tower, and Stone of Farewell. I was just blown away by how good those books were. So I'll be jumping into Heart of What Was Lost. It's a shorter book. It's only like 10 hours. It's kind of the novella slash short story that bridges the gap. And after that, I'll be jumping into Witchwood Crown, which is the first book in the Last King of Austin Ard series. Again, I'm just really excited to be back in Austin Ard. I just, every day I feel like I miss it. Every day I feel like I miss Austin Ard. I miss the way that Ted Williams wrote. I've been really missing that kind of classical fantasy story feeling that I got from those books. I've been missing that, I've been craving to get back into a more, old school fantasy style series. Not that I don't like Dandelion Dynasty or, Dungeon Crawler Carl or The Wandering Inn. Obviously I do. But I want to go back to my roots, which is old school epic fantasy. And those are my February plans for sure. I also have The Stand and Christine by Stephen King on hold at my local library. The Stand is supposed to arrive in 3 weeks, and Christine's supposed to arrive in 2. Depending on what I'm reading at the time, I'll probably take a break to read at least The Stand. I might push Christine off until March, just because it's not a priority read. But I really want to read The Stand. It's one of my priority reads this year. I'm trying to jump into the Dark Tower later this year at some point. Probably after Last King of Austin Ard, my follow-up is going to be the Dark Tower. And I feel like I need to read The Stand before I get into the Dark Tower. So I'm really excited for that. It's a big book. It's probably going to take me a while to finish. And hopefully it won't interrupt anything that I'm really enjoying. But it is a priority read for me. But again, I don't know for certain if I'll read it this month or if it'll be a March read. We will see. But that's kind of what I got coming down the pipeline. So we got more Dandelion Dynasty. We got more Austin Ard. We might have more Stephen King if I can fit it in. And that's it, guys. I mean, honestly, January was a great month for me. 5 books, enjoyed all of them. I only had 2 DNFs so far this year. One of them is going to probably be a permanent DNF with The Last Light of the Sun. Just was not vibing with it at all. But I want to give Assassin's Apprentice another chance. I feel like, if I give it a year, I'll come at it with fresh eyes and I'll like it again more. Because I want to give Robin Hobb a chance. She's one of the kind of premier female fantasy authors, and she, at least from what I see of her work, it seems like she should vibe with me. So I want to give that another chance. And again, my book of the month, it's going to go to The Wandering Inn by Pirate Abba. Just blown away. Blown away by how much I enjoyed that book. Just incredible. I I I I I don't know what else to say besides I loved it. Just a really really good story, and I'm excited to eventually read more. But yeah, that's kind of all I got. You know, it was a great reading month. I'm excited for more. I'm excited to get back into some Austin art, get into some classic fantasy, and I got some content coming for you guys if you can believe it. I will eventually have a Wind and Truth review that is spoiler filled. I will also finish for my Malazan fans. I will finish uploading and editing my reviews for the rest of that series. I promise. I have thoughts about where I left off. So, some point the next 2 weeks, I'm going to start actually making that content with the Bone Hunters, and I'll do the rest because you guys are, you know, you're starving out there. I have not finished that content, and I'm sorry. It's just been busy. Babies are a lot. Uh, Late term pregnancy is a lot. So I was busy, and I apologize for that. So yeah, that's everything for now, guys. Thank you for watching the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, you know what to do. Like and subscribe if you want to. If not, stalk my channel. I don't